Everyone thought he was just a lonely orphan, but his life flips upside down when his childhood crush turns out to be a super dangerous spy and marries him. Asano was once a cheerful young boy, but everything changed the day his entire family died in a tragic car accident. He was the only survivor, covered in scars and trauma. Since then, he refuses to make friends. He believes that anyone close to him will only get hurt. The only person who stayed by his side was his childhood friend, Mutsumi Yoakura. She's the only one he talks to, the only one who never left him alone. Years pass, and both of them enter high school, but even after a full month, Asano still doesn't make friends. A group of 3 boys invite him every single day to hang out, and every single day, he rejects them. Meanwhile, Mutsumi becomes the class idol. Friendly, sweet, and every guy's crush. One day, she walks over, sits with Asano during lunch, and gently suggests that he should give the boys a chance. But Asano refuses, turning it around on her. If she wants to be so friendly, why didn't she accept the third-year boy's confession? Mutsumi calmly replies that she just wasn't interested and tries to feed Asano a bite from her lunchbox. But before the food even reaches his mouth, someone steals it mid-air. It's Hisa, the vice principal. He appears without making a sound, annoys Mutsumi, eats her food, and before leaving, tells Asano to report to his office after school. Later, Asano goes to his office, confused but curious. Hisa welcomes him with tea, sits uncomfortably close, and suddenly starts asking about Mutsumi, why Asano is close to her, why she trusts him, why he's always by her side. Then it gets even creepier. Hisa pulls out old photos of Mutsumi, even ones from when she was 3 years old, which makes no sense. They've only known him for a month. Hisa calmly admits he beats up boys who get too close to her. He even handled the third-year student who confessed to her. Asano's instincts scream that something is seriously wrong. And then, Hisa pulls out a knife, places it to Asano's throat, and tells him to say his final prayers. But just before he can strike, a white-haired girl crashes through the window, blinds Hisa with a flashbang, and escapes with Asano in her arms. When Asano wakes up, it's evening, and he's surrounded by strangers. His social anxiety explodes, and he literally runs into a wall. Mutsumi arrives and quickly explains, these people are her siblings, and he's inside the Yoakura family mansion. She introduces everyone: Futaba, the white-haired girl Shinzo, the green-haired gun maniac, Shin, the pink-haired hacker Kengo, the furry, Nanao, the buckethead. Then she finally reveals the secret she hid for 10 years. Her entire family are elite spies. Asano panics, thinking it's a prank. He even grabs Shinzo's gun assuming it's a toy, only for it to fire a real bullet, nearly giving him a heart attack. Futaba explains they're freelance spies with a 4.8-star rating on Trustpilot. Kengo adds that Hisa is the eldest brother, the most famous spy in the family, and the reason the Yoakura name is so respected. Futaba apologizes for Hisa's behavior. She explains that when Mutsumi was little, she suffered a severe accident, and Hisa took all the blame. Ever since then, protecting her became his obsession. He tolerated Asano only because he was a childhood friend, until recently, when they received an online threat, someone plotting Mutsumi's assassination. That gave Hisa the perfect excuse to eliminate Asano as well. Suddenly, alarms blare throughout the mansion. Futaba's face darkens. Hisa has infiltrated the house. Asano panics, but she assures him that he's relatively safe with them, though she admits that even if all 5 siblings fight together, their win rate against Hisa is only 30%. Then she looks at Asano and drops the biggest bomb of all. The only way we can truly protect you is if you marry Mutsumi. Right now, the Yoakura family has one unbreakable rule: no killing family members. Ever. If Asano marries Mutsumi, he becomes family, and even Hisa won't dare touch him. All he has to do is exchange rings with her. Once he does, the marriage is official, and his life will finally be safe. Fuda suggests that Asano and Mutsumi should live together as a family. The word family hits Asano like a truck. His PTSD flares up instantly. He starts breathing heavily, shaking, unable to handle the thought of forming bonds again. Mutsumi quickly stops Fuda, telling her that it's cruel to pressure Asano like this. He's terrified of making connections. Forcing marriage on him right now would break him even more. Fuda apologizes for being insensitive, and everyone prepares to fight Hisa. But then, they all freeze, because Hisa is already sitting right in the middle of the room. Calm as ever, he casually tells Shinzo that he destroyed all his traps, then demands they hand Asano over. Fuda's eyes narrow. She grabs Hisa by the tie, swings him like a ragdoll, and slams him into the ground. Shinzo uses his robotic arms to pin him down. Nanao injects himself with steroids and punches him, while Kengo and Shin drag Asano away. But Hisa isn't even scratched. He activates his special skill and blasts everyone off him with ease. He stands up and calmly lectures them. Your attacks leave too many gaps. Asano watches in shock. These people are monsters. Yet Hisa is far beyond them. Fuda charges again. But Hisa uses his spider wire ability to block every strike. In seconds, he ties her to the ceiling. Shin orders Kengo to hide Asano and begins activating her combat drones. Metal pods drop from the ceiling and open fire on Hisa. Meanwhile, Kengo and Mutsumi stash Asano behind a hidden picture frame. But Hisa eventually destroys every drone without a single scratch and steps into the room. He finds Mutsumi guarding Asano's hiding spot. She charges with a gun, backed by the family dog. But Hisa is on another level. He binds them both instantly with his wires. He unmasks the Mutsumi on the ground, revealing Tango wearing a disguise. The real Mutsumi steps out, disguised as Asano. She begs him to stop. Asano poses no danger, but Hisa doesn't care. He tells her there's only one condition where he'll leave Asano alive. She must agree to never leave the house ever again. No friends, no romance, no fun, no internet. Just a life locked away for safety. He hugs her as she begins crying. She knows she can't win against him. But suddenly, Asano bursts out from the peephole, yelling for her to stop. He tells Mutsumi she doesn't need to accept this fate. Hisa tells Asano to shut up. He's no longer needed. But Asano shouts again, Mutsumi, give me the ring. I'm ready to become your family. Mutsumi's eyes fill with tears. She throws the ring to him. Asano leaps forward to catch it. But Hisa is faster. Spider wires shoot out, trapping Asano and stopping the ring mid-air. At the last moment, Asano grits his teeth, bleeds through the cuts, and forces himself forward. The wires shred his hands, but he pushes through. He grabs the ring. He slips it onto his finger. The marriage is complete. Silence. Then Mutsumi tackles him in a hug, crying with relief. Fuda looks at Hisa and says, he's family now. You can't hurt him anymore, and you're the one who will train him to protect Mutsumi. Hisa looks crushed. That night, Asano leaves to sleep at home. Fuda offers to walk him back, but he declines. He thinks Hisa needs more emotional support right now. He gets home, lies in bed, stares at his wedding ring, and finally passes out from exhaustion. But at dawn, he wakes up to Hisa standing over him with a knife. Asano dodges in pure panic. Hisa nods approvingly. Good reflexes. That was just a friendly test. Asano yells at him. But Hisa calmly explains that this is the traditional Yoakura wake-up call. Then he ties Asano up using his wires and announces the start of morning training. Mutsumi hears Asano screaming and rushes upstairs, only to find him hanging midair like laundry while Hisa stretches his limbs. She screams for her brother to stop, but Hisa checks his watch and says, "Oh, time to leave." He grabs Mutsumi and their bags, jumps out the window. Boom. Asano's entire house explodes behind them. Hisa sets them down and explains that the house had been rigged with a bomb during the night. He promises to explain everything later, but tells Asano one thing he must tattoo into his brain. The Yoakura family's purpose is to protect Mutsumi at any cost. Then he orders them to get in the car. While Mutsumi helps him into the car, Heiji talks with Shinzo, who discovered that the bomb had been planted inside the kitchen. This means the assassination target wasn't Asano, it was Mutsumi. Asano is completely confused, but Heiji calmly explains that in their world, information spreads extremely fast. The news about Mutsumi's marriage has already spread like wildfire, and almost everyone knows about it. Asano still doesn't understand why anyone would target her. Heiji answers simply, Mutsumi is the 10th head of the Yoakura family. He further explains that their family has been involved in espionage for generations, because their bloodline carries a special ability. Yoakura children are born with superhuman powers, but in every generation, one child is born without any ability at all, and ironically, that child always becomes the head of the family. Even though the head has no supernatural powers, they are the only one capable of producing children with superhuman abilities. If the head dies, the entire Yoakura lineage and all their superhuman descendants will eventually disappear. That's why Mutsumi is so important, and why enemies want her dead. Heiji gets irritated that someone like Asano, such a loser, in his words, ended up marrying her. Because the family is ancient and extremely powerful, they have countless enemies who want to erase them, and the easiest way to destroy the Yoakura family is to eliminate Mutsumi. Just as he finished explaining, a car approaches from behind. Someone loads a rocket launcher and fires at them. The driver barely manages to dodge in time. Asano panics, but Heiji remains completely calm even as machine guns rain bullets onto the limo. He assures Asano that the car is bulletproof and tells the driver to speed up. The enemy gives chase and unleashes a heavy-powered machine gun, tearing into the road behind them. While all of this is happening, Heiji casually sips his tea. Mutsumi tries to reassure Asano, telling him that their pet dog, Goliath, is the best driver in the family, which only terrifies him more. The enemies fire more rockets. The sharp turns spill Heiji's tea, which finally annoys him. He climbs onto the roof, unfazed, and uses his wires to block all incoming bullets. When another RPG is fired, his wires slice through it effortlessly, destroying it mid-air. After styling on the attackers, he throws his wires forward and cuts the enemy vehicles to shreds, causing them to explode. He calmly returns inside the limo as if nothing happened. Heiji tells Asano that since he married Mutsumi, he now shares the responsibility of protecting her no matter what. He hands Asano a gun and instructs him to kill anyone suspicious. He then shows him the Twitter account of the bomber who planted the kitchen bomb. According to Heiji, this man is one of the most dangerous bombers alive. But he has one fatal flaw. He's completely addicted to social media and constantly reveals his own plans online. Heiji orders Asano to protect Mutsumi for the entire day while he leaves for another job. If she gets even a scratch, Heiji threatens to kill him. Right then, Asano receives a notification the bomber has tweeted that the second bomb is already set. Asano scans the surroundings and notices a shadow moving through the corridors. He immediately rushes inside, heading toward the infirmary. The school nurse asks if he needs anything, but he silently steps away and returns to class. He watches Mutsumi during lunch break as she chats with her friends. Suddenly, he gets another notification. The third bomb has been planted. Hopelessness washes over him. He finally understands how hard Mutsumi's life truly is. While he's lost in thought, three boys approach and offer him chocolate. To their surprise, he accepts it and eats it. They're shocked he never talked to them before. Asano forgot all about his social anxiety until it hits him again, and he immediately blacks out. He wakes up in the infirmary, with Mutsumi watching over him. She asks if he's okay. Asano thinks about how kind she is and questions if he's truly the right person for her. He confesses that even though they've been childhood friends, he never knew about her family, never knew she had to fight to survive every day. Hearing this, Mutsumi karate chops him on the head. She tells him he's wrong. He's the one who willingly walked into such a dangerous family, and truthfully, she always wanted to marry him. This eases Asano's worries until he suddenly spots a bomb attached to the ceiling. Before he can react, it explodes with a deafening blast. The room is destroyed, but Asano manages to save Mutsumi by shielding her under a couch. He realizes the bomber is far smarter and more dangerous than he thought. Asano realizes the bomber was far smarter than he expected. The constant Twitter updates were meant to distract him and force him to focus only on Mutsumi. He removes his coat, and his eyes widen. A small bomb is strapped to his shirt, its timer dangerously close to 0. The bomber knew Asano would stay glued to Mutsumi's side. By turning Asano himself into a walking bomb, he guaranteed that the explosion would take Mutsumi down too. Knowing he has no time left, Asano makes a desperate decision. He throws himself out the window, fully accepting his death if it means saving Mutsumi. But at the last moment, Heiji catches him with his wires. Hanging outside the building, Asano hears Heiji praise him. Heiji explains that his earlier job ended quicker than expected, so he came to check on them. Asano looks down at the bomb and notices a wire lodged inside it. One of Heiji's wires had pierced the mechanism and stopped the timer, saving him from certain death. Heiji tells Asano that their family now and in the Yoakura family comes first. Even though he hates that Asano married his precious sister, he promises he would still gladly die to protect him. He pulls Asano back inside and casually plays with the bomb, telling them their job ain't over yet. At that moment, the other siblings storm into the room. Shinzo drags in the bomber, fully handcuffed. Heiji ties the bomber to the bomb with his wires and throws him out the window. Moments later, the bomber explodes in the sky like a giant fireworks show. The Yoakura family watches the spectacle from the couch as if it's just another Tuesday. The next morning, Asano wakes up from a nightmare where Mutsumi is kidnapped. Feeling groggy, he accidentally steps on Goliath's tail, earning a big, affectionate bite on his arm. He heads downstairs, where Mutsumi patches him up and apologizes for the dog. Seeing her play cutely with the pup reminds Asano of his nightmare, and he can't shake the fear of losing her. Determined, he approaches Futaba and begs her to train him. He wants to become strong enough to protect Mutsumi from every danger. Even last time, he only survived by luck and by Heiji's intervention. Futaba tells him he's being naive. She reveals that she began training in multiple martial arts at just 3 years old, and went on her first deadly mission at 6. Even with Yoakura genes, it took her 3 years to master martial arts. For a normal person, it would take far longer. She calls him naive again for thinking emotions alone can make him stronger, but she is willing to give him a chance. She asks if he wants to join the Yoakura all-out training program, the fastest way anyone can grow stronger. Asano gets excited until she states the condition: he must live in the Yoakura household for a full month first. Only then will real training begin. He thinks this will be easy, until a trapdoor suddenly opens under his feet. He barely hangs onto the edge and looks down at a pit of sharp spikes. Futaba casually explains that the entire Yoakura house is rigged with deadly spy training traps. If he wants to survive here, he'll have to earn it. The next morning, he wakes to the loud screech of the ugliest bird alarm imaginable. But because he doesn't get up in time, a bomb explodes in his room. He stumbles out through the smoke only to trigger another trap. A flamethrower pops out of the wall and starts burning everything in its path. After sprinting through the hall desperately trying not to die, he finally reaches the breakfast table. Mutsumi tends to his burns while he asks how she avoids all these traps. She explains that the traps don't activate for her. Shinzo adds that the house is controlled by an AI system. Anyone who successfully evades and disables the traps becomes recognized as an official house member and gains the ability to turn them on or off. Normally, clearing all the traps takes at least 2 years, which shocks Asano. Before he can argue, a sharp pain hits his stomach. Futaba calmly explains that all the food in the house is laced with small doses of poison to build resistance. It won't kill them, but it will definitely give them diarrhea. Panicked, Asano runs to the bathroom only to find it locked. It will only open if he picks the locks and cracks the codes, and so begins Asano's hellish daily routine. While every other family member disables the bird alarm before it explodes, Asano gets blown up every single morning. Back in the house, Asano continues getting destroyed by traps. The fridge is protected by lasers, so everyone needs to be careful, but not Shin, who casually uses her drones to grab whatever she wants, or Futaba, who just zooms in with her superhuman speed to get her drinks. Asano, however, triggers the trap immediately. Machine guns pop out of the fridge and start firing at him without hesitation. To turn on the TV, he has to shoot the power button on the remote, but the recoil keeps knocking him flat on his back every single time. At lunch, he still can't handle the poisoned food or crack the code to the bathroom, even with Mutsumi cheering him on. And when he tries to take a bath, the shower turns out to be a device for learning how to endure Russian interrogation techniques, which he absolutely hates. The next day at school, he looks like a walking corpse. He barely answers any questions and can barely move. It turns out the family is forcing him to wear a 30-kilogram shirt to build baseline strength at all times, even when resting. After another exhausting day, he heads back to his room, but finds Mutsumi asleep at her desk, worn out from working. He places a blanket on her shoulders and, inspired by her dedication, heads outside to practice his shooting in the middle of the night. Mutsumi eventually wakes up and brings him inside, offering him tea. She tells him to stop pushing himself too hard. After all, he's already protected her before. She reminds him of when they had just entered high school. A group of jealous girls tried to drag her into a shed to cut her hair off, but Asano appeared out of nowhere, snatched the scissors from them, and then started cutting his own hair instead. The bullies thought he was some sort of lunatic and ran away screaming, accidentally saving Mutsumi without him even realizing it. Asano promises that he'll become stronger and always stay by her side. Then he finally heads to bed. Weeks pass, and Asano slowly improves. He shuts off the bird alarm before it explodes. He navigates the laser traps and walks to the living room without getting sliced. He even uses the pistol to turn on the TV on the first try. Shinzo praises him, but Asano admits he still can't change the channel. Shin walks in and hands Shinzo a full progress report of Asano's development since joining the house. Later, Tubbyhead teaches him how to escape a poison gas trap. He begins resisting the basic poisoned foods, until he tries drinking the milk and immediately gets sick again, sprinting to the bathroom only to fail the lock codes and collapse on the floor. Realizing something is wrong, the family finds him barely conscious. Futaba rushes him to the infirmary. When they inspect him, they discover he has a fever from overexhaustion. Futaba notices something strange and tears off a layer of his skin, only to reveal he's wearing a fake bodysuit. Underneath, Asano is completely bruised and battered. He didn't want Mutsumi to worry, so he had the furry sibling craft him a skin-tight bodysuit to hide the damage. While Buckethead heals him, Futaba explains that his results have been extraordinary, results that are impossible to achieve without pushing himself to near-death levels. She tells him to take a break and hands him a book on coding. He must stay in bed until he reads it completely. Only then will he be allowed to continue training. A week passes. Finally, Asano cracks the bathroom lock. The whole family celebrates. He's officially passed the Yoakura house member test and is now recognized by the computer. To his horror, Shinzo immediately pulls out a 100 kilograms training shirt, announcing it's time to increase the intensity. Meanwhile, the house traps get switched from normal to hard mode. Asano realizes this is only the beginning. He still has a long, painful road ahead if he truly wants to protect himself and Mutsumi from every threat. The next morning, Mutsumi makes breakfast when Asano walks in, trying to wear her underwear on his head. She gives him a deadpan stare, assuming he has weird fantasies. She tells him she won't divorce him no matter how disturbing his desires are. Embarrassed, he explains that he's just practicing disguises. Suddenly, a beautiful blonde woman appears at the kitchen door asking if everything is okay. Asano has no idea who she is, but Mutsumi instantly recognizes it's Kingo in disguise. Kingo immediately smothers Asano to freak him out, but Mutsumi scolds him and tells him to stop. Right then, Heiji also enters and asks Mutsumi for a goodbye kiss before leaving. That's the last straw. She smacks both Kingo and Heiji on the head. Later, Asano meets Shinzo, who is preparing for a solo mission. Asano asks if it's dangerous, but Shinzo says it's a low-level job. He just needs to investigate a counterfeit money operation. It shouldn't take too long. Asano wishes him luck and heads off to school with Mutsumi. On their way to school, a ball comes flying at Asano at high speed, but without even looking, he casually catches it and throws it back with insane force. Later that afternoon, he and Matsumi head to the rooftop for lunch. She tells him that he still doesn't realize how much stronger he's gotten. He walks so quietly now that students have started calling him a ninja. Then she asks if he's free after school because she needs his help with some family work. Asano happily agrees. Back home, Matsumi sits at her desk, stamping a mountain of paperwork while ordering Asano to fetch documents faster and faster. She sorts through the files at superhuman speed, instantly spotting errors and problems. She even makes Asano send emails to investors to boost their stock positions, all while telling him to ignore the forged divorce papers Heist made just to annoy her and mess with their marriage. While checking files, she notices that Kengo has submitted another incomplete report. He's done this too many times. So she drags Asano to Kengo's room. The entire room is packed floor to ceiling with clothes, making it impossible to see anything. She calls his name, and suddenly he rises from the mountain of clothes like a phantom. Matsumi orders him to finish his report, but he brushes her off and starts eating sushi, telling her to stop acting like a grandma. That's the last straw. She grabs her handcuffs, the Yoakura-style punishment tools. Kengo immediately panics and tries to escape. Thanks to Asano's training, he's fast enough to block Kengo's path, but Kengo transforms into Matsumi to distract him and slips past him easily. Furious, Matsumi activates hibernation mode, locking down the entire Yoakura house. Massive walls rise around the building, sealing it off from the outside world. She tells Asano that once this mode is active, not even a bug can escape. Meanwhile, Shinzo is crawling through the ventilation system of a massive facility run by a shady millionaire responsible for circulating 60% of all counterfeit bills in the region. As he moves through the ducts, he realizes the enemy is working with a genius who designed insanely advanced security measures he puts on his Apple Vision Pro, which actually works in anime, letting him see through crates to locate stacks of fake money. Dropping through a hatch, he hacks open a secret case and retrieves a framed picture of a banknote that may be important. But before he can examine it, the alarm blares. Shinzo bolts for his life. Back at the Yoakura house, Matsumi begins checking each sibling's room. In her own room, she uses infrared scanners, but finds no trace of Kengo. Asano is amazed by all the hobbies she keeps, paintings, crafts, and gadgets everywhere. Then they check Shin's room, where she is totally absorbed in a physical game, and failing miserably. Next is Buckethead's room, and he simply warns that if he sees Kengo, he'll explode him. Classic. Finally, they enter Heist's room, only to find the walls covered in pictures of Matsumi. Disturbing, but expected. Asano starts wondering if Kengo somehow escaped, but Matsumi insists it's impossible during a lockdown. All the siblings regroup, and suddenly Asano hears something. He turns around and sees Kengo's face on the Mona Lisa, hidden inside the picture frame. Kengo jumps out and runs, with Asano chasing him around the corner. Moments later, Asano screams and collapses. Matsumi rushes to him. He's rubbing his head, claiming Kengo threw the frame at him and escaped into a wall cavity. Matsumi gets furious and storms off to release the lockdown. But the moment Asano enters the room, she snaps handcuffs onto him. She isn't fooled. She knows this Asano is actually Kengo in disguise. There's no way to escape during lockdown, so Kengo must have swapped places and hidden the real Asano somewhere. Kengo accepts defeat and removes the mask. Together, they finally retrieve the paperwork Matsumi needed. Later that day, Asano eats Matsumi's curry. It tastes amazing, until she casually tells him the secret ingredient is cyanide. He immediately starts feeling sick and excuses himself to take a call. On the phone, Shinzo is screaming for help. He's stuck in a gunfight, outnumbered and out of bullets. Without weapons, he's completely useless. Matsumi asks Asano if he can deliver weapons to him. He agrees without hesitation. He suits up, grabs a small bag, and enters the heavily secured building. But unfortunately, he is not fast enough. He gets caught by a guard who puts a gun to his head, but he remembers his training, pushes the gun back, locks the guard's arm, and smashes his face with his elbow. Hearing the noise, more guards rush in. He knees one in the face, but gets grabbed by another. A third tries to stab him, but his special clothing protects him. He punches the guy away and finishes the last one with a brutal, well-placed nutcracker strike. Just when he thinks it's over, another guard appears. He quickly pulls out the gun Shinzo gave him and fires a massive electric bolt, instantly knocking the guy out. He finally finds Shinzo, who clings to him dramatically and thanks him for the guns, rubbing them on his face like a weirdo. But then more guards enter. Shinzo's personality flips instantly. He stands up and, in a split second, wipes out the entire squad like it's nothing. He hands Asano a framed note before walking out and sweeping the whole building, shooting down every goon with surgical precision, even tossing a grenade and sniping at midair as they tried to escape. Asano gets shot in the leg by a sniper. He collapses, bleeding out, while the sniper orders Shinzo to drop his weapons. Shinzo obeys anything to keep Asano alive, but Asano remembers Shinzo can turn anything with a good grip into a weapon, so he throws him a fork. Shinzo snatches it midair and fires it at the sniper's barrel, causing it to misfire. He grabs his gun, shoots the enemy, and saves Asano's life. By nightfall, Shinzo is carrying Asano on his back. Asano thanks him for saving him. Shinzo thanks him back. Both acknowledge that without each other, they would have been dead. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a hobo storms another facility and brutally crushes every guard with a hammer. He demands the location of their leader. When no one talks, he kills them and pulls out a photo of his next target. Asano. Days pass after the factory incident. Asano's leg heals, and the newest spy family member walks along a lonely road at night, happily talking to Mitsumi on the phone. She tells him the legend of a special Ferris wheel, how a couple once had a massive fight, but after riding it, they forgot everything and fell in love again. Since then, it's been called the matchmaking Ferris wheel. She says she wants to go with him on their next day off, because rumor has it, any couple who watches the sunset from it will stay happy together for a long time. Asano blushes, but suddenly notices a white sedan pulling up beside him. A shabby-looking man steps out, gray clothes, messy hair covering his face. He slowly turns, makes eye contact with Asano, and starts walking toward him. Mitsumi notices he's gone silent and calls his name. He answers with a serious voice he needs to hang up now. The strange man approaches and confirms Asano's identity. Asano is creeped out that the stranger knows his name. The man reaches into his coat and pulls out a police ID. He introduces himself as Hodo, an officer from the Koizumi precinct. Without much explanation, he asks Asano to come to the station for interrogation. Asano has no choice but to comply. He's taken into a dark interrogation room with a single dim light bulb. Hodo opens a laptop and shows them a photo found on the dark web, a clear image of Asano from the fights a few days ago. Asano's heart drops. His face turns pale. How did this photo get out? The Azekura siblings always cover up every mission. So, how did this get online? Hodo shows more pictures. Asano using illegal firearms, breaking and entering, the car chase involving Mitsumi's pet driving, and even the ceiling bomb incident at school. Asano knows he didn't cause half of these problems, but he keeps quiet. Hodo continues interrogating him, saying a teenager couldn't possibly pull off all these large-scale incidents alone. But strangely, there is zero evidence of any accomplices. He believes Asano is working with a secret organization that specializes in these activities. The police officer presses Asano hard for information, promising reduced punishment if he cooperates. He keeps demanding Asano reveal any secrets and expose his allies, but Asano knows snitches get stitches. He thinks of the Yoakura siblings and, with a fierce glare, declares that he knows nothing at all. Hodo tells him to calm down and think carefully. He pours a glass of water and subtly adds a white powder. Asano immediately recognizes it as truth serum and refuses to drink. Hodo, lacking discretion but not brute force, grabs Asano's face and pours it down his throat. Thankfully, thanks to his spy family training, Asano pulls the liquid into one giant bubble and spits it out. Frustrated, Hodo resorts to violence, smashing a hammer onto the table. Asano's reflexes kick and he dodges and lands on a nearby bag. Red liquid spills out. He assumes it's blood, and Hodo confirms it's from a drug dealer he unalived. Hodo pins Asano to a wall, hammer in hand, demanding answers one last time. As Asano evades, the wall shatters, instead revealing Hisa slyly smiling. It turns out Hodo, an old friend of Hisa, tasked with testing Asano's loyalty and resistance. Asano passed with flying colors, impressing the usually emotionless Hodo. The next day at school, Hisa, also the vice principal, takes over Asano's class. Exhausted, he struggles to keep his eyes open, tempted to nap. Suddenly, chalk flies at sonic speed, embedding itself into the wall next to his head. He jolts awake. Hisa explains he must train to fight off sleep, or more chalks will come flying. Asano agrees, determined to condition his brain to require less sleep. Using a duster, Isa releases thick smoke, putting the rest of the class to sleep, but Mitsumi is saved by her gas mask. Even in sleep, Asano's trained body reacts instantly, blocking incoming chalk. Soon, Asano is sent on his first mission, an amusement park. A couple allegedly carrying guns must be found and disarmed discreetly. He sits in the crowd, blending in, when Mitsumi arrives, joining the mission. He's thrilled, hoping to impress her as a good husband. Asano spots 3 suspicious couples. The first are harmless. The final couple, dressed in suits at a restaurant, catches his attention. Mitsumi steps away to get drinks. Asano notices the man pulling a small box from his coat, ready for action. He draws his gun, but it's just a ring. The man intended to propose. Relief comes, but then chaos erupts. The lovey-dovey couple starts yelling insults at each other. The boy walks away, but the girl pulls a gun, aiming at him. Reverse, he draws his gun too. The restaurant descends into panic. People scramble for safety, including Mitsumi. Asano ducks under a table, then swiftly disarms the psycho couple with only 2 bullets. The police arrive and take them away. The day is saved. As their amusement park day ends, Asano and Mitsumi ride the matchmaking Ferris wheel together. He hands her the rose he picked earlier, slightly battered in the shootout. She blushes and accepts it as the Ferris wheel rises, the sunset glowing beautifully around them. If the legend is true, they might just be a happy couple for a long time. If you like this video, subscribe for part 6, and check out a brand new anime about a failed hero who turns into a monster after a parasite attack, but still pretends to live a normal life.